It's the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. We'll get to baseball as we begin the second half, or we begin play in the second half, although we are well into the season, and most teams have somewhere in the 62 to 65 range of games left. And obviously, we watch the trade deadline and all the rumors and all the teams that are in the mix, and there are many. I mean, there are a lot of teams that still have playoff aspirations and fantasies this year, and the Mets are one of them, so it'll be very interesting. We'll get to that. Let's do the British Open first. After two rounds, now the second round is being played as we speak. Lowry, who is always a threat over there, obviously, and knows how to win, is 7 under par after following up the 66 with a 69. Scheffler is 2 under, tied with a host of golfers who are 2 under. At the current time of this broadcast, there were only 2 players between Lowry and Scheffler, Brown and Rose, who were still on the course and had plenty of golf to play today. We'll see how they finish up. But Scheffler is in good position to make his move on the weekend. So he will be, right now, he is tied for 4th and 5 strokes off the lead, which is not in any way insurmountable. And it's not like he has to jump over a whole lot of people to get there. Tiger Woods had a very tough first day. Mickelson was 2 under yesterday. I mentioned Mickelson. Nobody else does. I watched extensively round 1. I have not watched a lot of round 2 because I played golf this morning. So I haven't really gotten into round 2 yet. I've been following it, but not watching it. They did not mention Phil yesterday. Not one mention by a broadcaster, nor did we see him at any point. And he played well yesterday. He shot 2 over par, which was better than the course average yesterday on what was a tough day. He played solid golf, and not a word, not a mention. Now, he's not going anywhere. I didn't think he was going anywhere. He's 5 over for the tournament after shooting a 73 over par 74 today. But it's like he doesn't exist anymore. They followed Tiger yesterday the entire round. I mean, they were with him shot after shot after shot, which I understand. He's Tiger Woods, okay? But not one word, not one mention. And Tiger had Tiger yesterday opened up par, birdie. Made a winding birdie on 3, and everyone went wild. After that, he went on to shoot a 79. Today he shot a 77. So while he got back at Monty for making a dumb comment, and Monty backed off and said, I apologize, I shouldn't have said it, because Tiger rammed it down his throat, which he knew he would. But Tiger went out here and shot 14 over par for 2 days. That's bad. I mean, that's awful. He's got to do better than that. Otherwise, there's not a lot of reason for him to go out there. He's not going out there very much except for the big tournaments now. But that's not a good performance. Mickelson, as an example, is 5 over after 2 rounds. He's 14 over. But it's amazing that Mickelson has fallen into such disfavor by the PGA and by all the networks. They don't act like he exists. He went from being their darling to being the devil. It is unbelievable how he is treated. So as we said, Lowry, who followed up a terrific 66 with a 69. Justin Rose is there after a 69 yesterday, playing well again today. We'll see how he fares. You got a couple other guys playing well. Horschel finished 2 under. Neiman 2 under. Those two joined Scheffler at 2 under. Scheffler was actually 3 under. He bogeyed 18, which I'm sure didn't make him happy. He would have liked to go in 3 under, but he's under par both days. 1 under yesterday. And I'll tell you something. If he had gotten a couple of putts to fall yesterday, I didn't see today's rounds, but if he had gotten a couple of putts to fall yesterday, he easily could have shot 5 under yesterday. He left putts on the edge. He missed putts that just missed. He missed an eagle putt, got a tap-in bird after hitting an incredible second shot, a 300-yard shot off the fairway. I mean, he hit the ball better than that yesterday and didn't putt up to any standard. I don't know how he played today. I don't know if the putter bailed him out or the putter hurt him. I don't know yet today. But he's right where he needs to be in this tournament for the weekend. So we'll see how the world's number one. I mentioned Spieth, who I thought would play well. He was 1 over yesterday, 2 over today, 3 over for the tournament. So he's done. He's 3 over, which is not awful position, but it's not great. It's not great when a guy's 7 under as far as winning the tournament. And then Rahm shot 2 over yesterday. He's on the course now. We'll see how he does today. But Scheffler shot a 70 yesterday, a 70 today. He's 2 under par, and he's right in the middle, very much in striking distance where he needs to be going into moving day, which is tomorrow at the British Open. As we said, baseball is back. Time to get going. And it's going to be an interesting trade deadline. It's going to be an interesting run through August and September. The Yankees, who will be very active, we'll see what they do. We'll see how they decide to fix things. They welcome Tampa into Yankee Stadium this evening with Cole on the mound. Obviously, the Yankees expect Cole to lead them in the second half. The Yankees are not going to change the face of their starting pitching. They need their starting pitchers to show up and be who they are. They need Cole to be Cole. They hope Heel is who he was early, not who he was for a while. His last 2 starts have been okay. They need Cortez to pitch well on the road. They need Stroman to pitch much better at home, and they need Rodon to be able to figure out how to get through the first inning. And they clearly need to bring in a swing and miss guy to pitch in the 8th and 9th inning. They desperately need that in the back of the bullpen, and they could use a corner bat. And let's be honest, Mike, your kingdom for a leadoff hitter. When you have Soto and Judge and soon Stanton at 2, 3, and 4, if you can put a leadoff hitter up who can get on base, hey, everything changes. They have no one who gets on base. Other than Soto and Judge, the highest on-base percentage is .307. For the last 30, 40 games, Volpe's been under 200. Verdugo's been in a terrible slump. Volpe's done nothing. They need those two to pick it up, but neither one is really a leadoff hitter right now. LeMahieu can't be a leadoff hitter. They don't have a leadoff hitter. They really just don't have one. And if they could find one, it would radically change their offense. Radically. They have needed that. I've screamed about that since spring training. I said if they could find a leadoff hitter, and I don't know exactly what date that Stanton is coming back. I haven't seen that yet. You want to make sure he's healed. You want to make sure he's healthy. I don't know exactly exactly when he's coming back. But when he does, until he does, I wouldn't have a problem if he's going to be in the lineup putting Grisham first, because he'll at least walk. And he can steal a base. And he's been better. He's got some pop. But I tell you, I bat him leadoff if I'm going to play him before I put anybody of these other guys up leadoff. Now, he's only going to play until Stanton comes, because when Stanton comes, he's not going to play anymore. We know that. Then Stanton's going to DH, and Judge is going back to center field, and Verdugo's going, so there's no room in the outfield. But they clearly, number one thing, but everybody's looking for relievers. Mets need A, B, and C reliever. They need relievers throughout the lineup. If they can get a reliever with the way their offense has worked, they can be a wild card team. And right now, as they start the second half or start the run to the playoffs, they are in the postseason as we speak. So I don't think there's any question that the Mets are going to be buyers. Now, that does not mean that they might not jettison Alonso. They might do that looking big picture. That's a possibility. But even if they do that, they're still going to be trying to add bullpen help, because that's not going to end who they are. I would keep them. And then if you don't resign them, you don't resign them. But I would keep them, because I think he'll have a good second half. Or, I should be more accurate, a good last 65 games. I mean, they've gotten a lot out of that lineup, because they've gotten a lot out of the bottom of the order. They really have done a good job in that regard. They have good depth right now. They need pitching. They need relief pitching in so much the worst way. It's unbelievable how much they need it. There's no way around that. They desperately need that. And there are going to be so many teams looking for relief help. It's going to be astronomical how much it's going to cost. There are so many teams looking for it that it's going to drive the cost up. There's no question about it. Any reliever is going to be expensive, and overly expensive, because of now everyone woke up today to this cyber outage, which affected everything. It sounds like, and CrowdStrike, which is a really good company, took a serious hit today, because they got blamed for this thing, along with Microsoft. And CrowdStrike took a big hit. The stock's down a lot. It was down. It's come back a little. It was down like 12%. It's down like 8% now. But bottom line, they got blamed for this whole thing. I don't know if it was their fault, but it affected everything. It affected financial. It affected airports. It affected everything. It affected the Olympic preparation. It actually shut down ticket sales and affected media, banks, player travel, participant travel, all kinds of things. Now, I saw that they made a statement that CrowdStrike did, that it was not a security breach. It was not done by a hacker. It was not any attack on the system. It was a glitch in the software. Supposedly on the Microsoft end. At least that's what CrowdStrike reported about an hour ago. I saw that on the financial coverage. Because, like I said, their stock took an absolute beating today. And their stock is down, like 70 points this week. It's down 30 points today. And like I said, it's a really good company. But they took a serious hit today with this thing. And I don't know that they were in any way responsible. So, but hey, somehow they're getting it thrown on their. Somehow their system impacted the Windows devices, and that attacked all these different areas around the world. So that's what I'm not well versed on this stuff. I'm well versed in CrowdStrike. I'm just not well versed in the technical end of it. But I can tell you right now, long term, that stock is a bargain. I can tell you, it has taken a real hit, and I don't know if it deserved it or not. But like I said, it's a good company. But it actually affected everything, including the Olympics. Now, I've told you before, I'm not this crazy Olympic guy. I never have been. I'll watch it when there's nothing else on. I'll watch it where I just bump into it and somehow it, whatever the storyline is. See, the way they package the Olympics, the way they've packaged it forever, is they try to create storylines that interest you. Because, let's be honest, you're sitting home, Mr. and Mrs., Olympic watcher, and you don't know anything about these Olympic participants. You're rooting for them because they're wearing USA. So it's always steeped in patriotism. But they try to get you involved in these stories. So they try to sell you these stories, and a lot of times before the event, they will show you a feature on one of the real serious gold medal candidates so that you buy in and maybe start, getting into this person. Maybe he comes from a tough background. Maybe she did this or she did that or whatever. That's they package and try to sell these athletes who, incredible amounts of their life and years and years and years go into the training and keep billboarding that person until they can bring them up. Now, you got a lot of events that don't interest anybody, and I'm pretty much into the basics, I like track and field. I never watch track and field, but I watch it in the Olympics. If I know something about a swimmer, like I know the exploits of Katie Ledecky, I mean, she's like a machine. And you take, you've heard some of the names of some of these people. But for the most part, we're going to win a gazillion medals in the summer. That's why the winter's always been more interesting, because we're like underdogs in a lot of those events. That's more captivating than us winning every medal, which is what happens in the summer. Winning every swimming medal, winning every, most track and field medals. I mean, there might be a great performer from some country, but for the most part, we're going to win all those medals. And it gets kind of tedious. But they have been promoting this thing. I mean, how many times, if you're a sports watcher, how many times have you seen a promo for the Paris Olympics? I mean, they have been showing these and doing countdowns and I see them on CNBC. If I'm watching some stock stuff or business stuff, you see the commercials like crazy on CNBC. Or you saw it in the political coverage. It's funny. I still watch some of the conventions, even though the conventions are so staged and you know what they are, and they have very little impact on the election. I still watch them. Like, I watched Trump speak last night. And obviously there was more people watching than usual because he was coming off that, incredible near tragedy on the weekend. So it was that much more compelling because it's the first time he spoke. And spoke and spoke and spoke because he broke records last night. You know, I've always liked and have always been interested in political speeches and who gives good ones and who doesn't and this and that. He went on last night for over an hour and a half, the longest convention speech ever. I mean, he just kept going and going and going, and he was on. He's not one to be on prompter a lot. He was on prompter for like the first 20 minutes last night, like word for word, which is rare for him. And then when he veered off, he was all over the place after that. And he went on and on and on. So one down and one to go, but now we have this incredible intrigue. And if you're one who likes and follows presidential elections and likes the modern presidency and all that stuff, and I do. I mean, I'm a Kennedy guy and a Truman guy for the most part. Those are my two favorites. Kennedy by far one, and then Truman two. But this year is going to be fascinating because we have never, wherever you, whether you're, locked in Trump or never Trump or, whatever. I'm not interested in that, where you are. I'm not trying to sell you anything. But to have the idea of a change this late, I mean, Truman could have run again and said he wasn't going to because he had almost been in the job for 8 years. Lyndon Johnson could have run again. He served the rest of the first term, which wasn't long. Obviously, the rest of November and December, and then the next year. And then ran and won in a landslide over Goldwater. And could have run again, but first of all, he was old and tired out. He had had a heart attack, 15 years before. Plus, he was so haunted by what had gone on in Vietnam that he didn't like how unpopular he was. He thought it had really gotten in the way of his great programs that his vision was for. He really wanted to be the great legislator, and he did enact a lot of programs. And whether you want to say they were ones Kennedy would have put through in his second term, hey, I don't care where you sit on that. But the truth of the matter is Johnson did put forth a lot of very, very transformational legislation. But he had it, and he had a fixation on Bobby Kennedy. He was so afraid that Bobby Kennedy was going to somehow take the limelight away from him and take the presidency away from him, which he couldn't have done. But he decided not to run, but he decided not to run early. He decided not to run in the wintertime. So you had the primaries, and it was a different system then, but you had the primaries and you had guys running. You had Humphrey and you had McCarthy, who was not, stop the war, and you had Bobby jump in and then Bobby get killed, and Humphrey finally running against Nixon. But Johnson could have run, but he left early. You've never had anything like this, where you are now into August. I mean, we are 10 days from August. And there's a very, very good chance. I would say about a 75% chance that there's going to be a change. Now, I don't see any way that the vice president doesn't get the nomination because I think it would fracture the party. I don't think there's been talk of having some kind of balloting at the convention, which would be great theater. I mean, if you want to watch real old-time political theater, I would love to see that because that would be great theater. I don't expect it to happen because I think if she doesn't get the nomination, she will fracture the party. And the party's already in trouble. So the reason now I think that he's going to back off, and supposedly he's extremely prideful, and his wife's got her back up about it too. And you got to remember, he wanted to run in 16, and they told him no, it was Hillary's. And he told them that was a mistake. And he watched as Hillary lost to Trump, and he kind of said, I told you so. And he had to wait. And then he didn't think he was going to get the nomination, which he did after the South Carolina primary. And he got hot and took off, and then wins in 20. And now they're telling him he can't win this time, which I don't think he can, because he's gotten so old, he can't even. To watch him go up the stairs of Air Force One is almost embarrassing. No less watch him put some thoughts together. Old age has walloped him. He's done. He's 81 and he's too old for the job. But that doesn't mean he's going to go, because he can stay if he wants to. It's his nomination. But the reason why is not because they're flocking to tell him, whether it's Obama, Pelosi, Schumer, whoever. It's because the money has dried up. Always. Wherever you go in life, it's always about the money. And to run and campaign for a presidency, you have to spend a fortune. You spend an incredible amount of money, billions, on air transportation. Remember, you got to fly the president all over the place, the vice president all over the place, other people who campaign for you all over the place, plus the media planes. Do you know how much jet fuel that is? And how much that is for air transportation? No less what they spend in television ads, which is phenomenal what they spend. So they have quotas they have to hit, and they're not bringing in the cash because the donors have said, we're not giving the money. So that's the reason why I really think there will be a change. Not because they're going to come to him and tell him he can't win, because I think he'll get his back up for that, but I think because the money has dried up. So I don't know if it'll happen before the convention. The handoff could still happen at the convention or a couple days before. He will finish the term. That's what goes without saying. He will finish the term. But I think now there's a very, very good chance he's going to step away because the money's not coming in. And without the money, they're completely done. So it's going to be fascinating to watch. And I don't care if you like politics or not. This is America, and this is a presidential election, and this is a fascinating thing to watch because it's never happened before. So it's a heck of it's history in front of our eyes. They'll be teaching this one day. All of it. Enjoy the baseball and the weekend. We'll talk to you.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.